your quest, if you want to put your questions in the chat or raise your little hand, I will try to get Allison's attention. And at the end of this lovely presentation, I'm going to send a link if you're interested in one-on-one counseling with us, and also a quick survey so you can tell us what you thought of today's webinar. All yours, Allison.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah and Tom. It's great to be with you all. And I know some of you may have been registered for this in July, where I had to kind of pull the plug at the last minute. I got the dreaded COVID last month, so I was not feeling great that day, but I am luckily it was, kind of like a really bad cold. I just recovered fine. So I'm feeling great today and very happy to be back with you, but I do apologize that I missed our date if you were signed up for this last month, but very happy to be with you today. Lots is changing on this topic. A lot of the data, even stuff that I had ready to go last month, I had to update some of the data points for this month. So I'm happy to share that and excited to share that with you. This is a topic very near and dear to my heart for what we do here at the Employers Association. Small business, I'm married to a small business owner. He's got his own consulting company. He's done that for 20 years. So I am very familiar with the challenges at home and at work, because the work we do here at EANE is supporting the majority of small businesses as well. So hope to give you some insightful information today on this topic. As Sarah and Tom mentioned, please engage with us. I am looking at my presentation screen, but Sarah is monitoring the chat. She'll wave me down, flag me down if there's questions, comments, thoughts. So please, we want some engagement from you today. If you do have questions or comments, share it with the group. It makes it so much better when we have some interaction going here. So this is a little bit about me, my contact information if you want to reach out. I'm sure Tom and Sarah will share the slides. If you're interested in having them, I'll send the deck over and make sure they have them after the program this morning. But let's talk about what we're going to cover today. And we're going to do a little bit of a blend of things, right? We're going to talk about how to recruit new staff once we talk about the labor market and what's going on. And then we're going to talk about the importance of retaining our staff. Because just like it's cheaper for all of you to retain a current customer than go out and spend money and find new ones, it's the same works with employees, right? It's far, far cheaper to retain the employees that we have, especially when they're great ones, than it is to try to go out and seek new ones. So we're going to help you, give you some strategies to find some new talent, but also to retain the talent that you have. So who am I and where do I come from? And why am I qualified to talk about this for you today? Well, I work at the Employers Association, the vice president of membership and partnerships. We are an organization, it's membership based, that supports over 1,000 member companies across New England with their people process. Anything related to the HR function in an organization, hiring, terminations, compliance, best practices, anything that has to do with that in an organization is what we support organizations with. We also do a lot of training and development, which is a very large component of employee retention today. So that's what we do and how we support our member companies. But we're a nonprofit. So part of our charter as an organization is to provide these informational sessions where we can hopefully give you valuable insight and information to help you grow your business as well. So we're going to do a pulse check today. Where are we today? And where are we going? And it's a little bit like this right now with a lot of things. And we're going to talk about how we've pretty much got to give that volatility a hug, because it's here to stay. We've got to embrace it. We can't fight it. We can't say, when is it going to calm down? When are things going to go back to the way they were February of 2020? We don't see that happening. It's a lot of up and down. So we're going to have to lean into the volatility and the change. We'll talk a little bit about workforce numbers today and why it's so confusing when we see some of the numbers and the data points come out, and then you're looking for talent and you can't find anyone. So we'll talk about what is employee engagement? What does that mean? Especially when we talk about small businesses and how important that is. We're going to talk about some retention strategies. Again, we talked about, the fact that it's a lot less expensive to keep your employees around than to go out and find new ones. We're going to talk about the things that are important to employees today to make sure that you're incorporating some of those things in your organization as you work on retention and as you're onboarding new employees into your organization. And we'll talk a little bit about benefits and what that means and what's happening in the benefit space. So right here we are, things were going so well, February of 2022 or 2020, and the labor market was still tight back then, right? I think it feels pre-COVID feels far, far away. I don't know if it feels far away for all of you. It feels like, 10, 20 years have passed since that, because we've all been through so much since March of 2020. But, really what we're dealing with today is labor rates have increased. It's costing us about 5% more to employ people, right? The average compensation for an employee has gone up by 5% in the last 12 months. Typically, it's somewhere between 2 and 3% when we look at performance-based increases, cost of living adjustments. It's over 5% at this point. We've got inflation at around 8.5%. So the extra money we floated up to our employees isn't covering their expenses, which is why they're still crabby and complaining and unhappy, right? They can't make ends meet because the cost of goods that they're buying in their own personal lives has gone up more than their wages have gone up. We have half the economists in the country saying we're in a recession or headed for a recession. The other half aren't really saying that. They're hedging their bets. Maybe first quarter of 2023, maybe not. So I personally haven't seen a definitive answer that I feel confident rolling out there to all of you to say, yes, this is what's happening. So this is what we should be doing. So again, that roller coaster. And even if we hit some breaking points, all right, like large organizations, Google, Microsoft, Ford laying off 3,000 people right now, right? Ford, giant organization. Their layoffs are coming as a direct result of their focus on electric vehicles coming down the pike, right? So we're not Ford. We have small businesses that are running in ecosystems very different. So sometimes the national narrative can be confusing, and we're going to scope that out and talk a little bit more in the context of controlling our own environment today and what we're dealing with. So I'm going to read some stats here. In July of 2022, so last month, the US added 528,000 jobs to the economy. And this report also said that we have recovered the 2.2 million jobs lost in the pandemic. So if that's the case, and we're back to pre-pandemic levels of employment, then why is it still so hard finding people? And the answer to that is a lot has changed. We're still seeing struggles with certain populations within our workforce. Women, for example, have not recovered at the rate of men in the workforce. We're also going to talk about some other things that are impacting the environment. So let's talk about a little more about the current landscape. We have baby boomers that retired at very, very high numbers at the end of 2020 and early 2021. These are the folks that probably had 3 to 5 years left in their retirement. The pandemic hit and they went, check, please, I'm out, right? It was overwhelming and too much for them. There's a little silver lining with that we've got some of them boomeranging, right? Say that 3 times fast, baby boomer boomeranging back into the workforce, where this is a group that now has said, maybe I left too early, right? So it's a potential workforce group that we can kind of ease back in on their terms. You're going to hear me say that a lot today, on their terms, because guess what? The workforce, the people you're hiring, they got terms now. They got terms and conditions for coming to work for you. And we're going to talk about some of those and how they're impacting hiring today. In general, I'm going to share a chart in just a moment here. our US birth rates are lower. There's less children being born. We're not creating the population that we had in the past. That makes it more difficult to produce enough workers right now. So there are 2 jobs for every available worker in this country currently in our economic climate, in our workforce climate. Every job that's open, there are 2 jobs open for every person available to work. Gen X is the generation behind the boomerangers, right? The boomers who may or may not be coming back into the workforce. We have to entice them. And Gen X is the smallest generation. You got 80 million plus boomerangers. We've got roughly like 45 million Gen Xers. They're the next level of management, right? The next level of leadership coming up in the organizations. Well, there's not a lot of Gen Xers. So we're going to have to tap into the millennials, which is another big 80, 90 million workforce strong group coming up to fill a lot of these key management positions that are going to be left open as the baby boomers continue to retire, because that small Gen X pool, there's not enough to make up the difference. Candidate choice, right? They're taking their time. They're choosing when they want to come in, when they don't want to come in, and what they're going to do. That is impacting you as an organization, trying to hire, trying to retain. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what that means for you. There's, not a lot of people are talking about the opioid crisis and the impact that that's having. There was a survey I just read this morning coming out that talked about the fact that 20% of our workforces are struggling with some sort of alcohol or drug addiction. And, of those folks, their engagement levels in organizations are not great, right? They're personally struggling with something. The opioid crisis has taken a huge toll on males, in that age group of 24 to 54. And that's pulled them out of the workforce. That's another part of the workforce gap that we're seeing right now. So if you look at this, think of it as the perfect storm, right? That George Clooney movie that was so great, filmed in Mass. We've got the baby boomer retirement, some of them coming back into the market, right? We've got lower birth rates in general, adding to the fact that Gen X is the smallest generation. There's not a lot of extra capacity there. The candidates are taking their time. We've got the opioid crisis. We have people migrating out of New England at record rates. They don't want to be here. We have this incredible education hub in the New England states, particularly Mass, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Amazing institutions that are graduating, some smarties, right? The new kids, the smarties are coming out of our schools. They're not staying here. They're leaving. And I'm going to show you where they're going in just a minute. So look at these things that are coming together to create this agitation in the workforce market. There's no silver bullet thing that's doing it where we say, if we fix this, we'll solve the problem. There's a few things that are contributing to this, so we've got to get really, really creative. Compensation's rising. We talked about that. Culture. So you've really got to have a sharply defined employee value proposition. How we doing? Sarah, are we good? Any questions in the chat? Anything happening now?
Everyone seems to be very quiet, taking it all in,
All right. So let's keep going with the data points here. So here's just kind of that exclamation point on that data that I shared with you on the population growth or decline. It's really not growth, right? There's nothing growth about this chart. It goes out to 2090, but just look at the declines since the year, roughly 2010. We're seeing it go down, and there's a variety of predictors there, but I don't think you're seeing any upward trends happening, right? So that's telling you what the population decline looks like. Here's, when we're looking at filling our workforce pipeline with younger generations and the upcoming generations, the very simplistic way to read this chart is red is bad, blue is good. Okay, red is in the negative in terms of where young people are settling today in the country. Blue is where they're gravitating towards, and the dark blue are the growth areas, right? So, and the dark red are the areas where the young folks are leaving. So look at the Northeast, right? Lots of dark red, lots of the little bit lighter shades of red. There's really not a lot of blue here. So they're migrating out of New England. Why? Lots of reasons, okay? The climate certainly is one. This is a great time to be in New England during the summer. Beautiful. Fall is beautiful. Winters, they're not real big fans of winter in some cases. Sometimes they're leaving because opportunity is better elsewhere. There are technology hubs. There are culture hubs that offer them opportunities beyond what we have here in the Northeast. So for a variety of reasons, we're not retaining the younger workforce in New England. So what do we do? How do we solve the problem, right? I just gave you the bad news. The rest of the program is going to be focused on the fact that you have a reasonable amount of control over your own destiny, which is the good news. So how do we do that? We do that by looking at what our employee value proposition looks like. And what does that mean? When I say employee value proposition, what does that mean? So essentially, the first two boxes here that you're looking at, total rewards plus your employee value proposition, equals the employee experience that somebody has working for you. So let's start with the first one. Total rewards is the exchange. You have an exchange with the employees you hire. What are you offering as an employer in exchange for their work for you, their contributions for you? So it's typically, looked upon as compensation, benefits, recognition, development. We'll take a deeper look into the total rewards and what composes total rewards, but it's what they get in exchange for working for you, right? Their value proposition is, what you're providing to them on top of the compensation, the benefits, kind of the tactical things that you're going to give them in that exchange. It's what you're going to give when they bring their experience, their commitment to the workforce. And the really important one here to focus on is the employee experience. What's their perception of working for you? Because that is going to drive whether they decide to take the job in the first place, their perception of you, which they probably don't have a lot to go by at that point, right? Once they're on board with you and they've worked in the organization, all of those experiences that happen to them while they're working, what they're paid, yes, part of the total rewards, how they're treated by the ownership, management, leadership, all of that comes into their employee experience, right? Starting from when they apply for the job, all the way through when they leave an organization, how are they treated? So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into these definitions and talk about some things. So part of what I wanted to share today, as a small business, you kind of have to employ some of these tactics that the bigger businesses are using, because they are, in a lot of ways, your competition for this talent right now, right? And small businesses have so much to offer, and you have, in some cases, an easier path getting to a great employee value proposition because you have full control over what you're doing. Whereas a larger organizations, the movement takes a longer amount of time to do. You can impact quick change in your organizations in a lot of cases. So this is from McLean and Company. They are a nationally recognized expert in everything HR. They have a fantastic portfolio of resources. It is incredibly expensive to get their resources. And usually it's big companies that are members of theirs. But this is kind of a really interesting insight into top priorities that they surveyed from the big guys, right? Larger companies. What are they focused on this year? And recruiting is number one, right? So this is, the left side is 2021 and the right side is 2022. So recruiting is still at the top. Look what jumped up a few spaces, right? Providing a great employee experience. The big guys are putting dollars into this. They're putting investments into providing a great employee experience. Developing leaders, right? That's still on the top of the list for all of us. We've got to develop good managers, good supervisors that can help us with that employee experience. What I loved about this slide is that enabling innovation is on this list, and it certainly wasn't there last year, and I don't believe it's been on there in years past. What does that mean, enabling innovation? It means tapping into the brains of your workforce, right? And allowing them to provide some insight into how they might do things differently, right? Getting their thoughts, getting their feedback. Whatever they're doing, whatever their unique little vertical in your organization is, do they have suggestions on how to improve it and do it better? So it's bringing them into the mix, inviting them into the strategic party, so to speak. So when we talk about the components of an employee value proposition, this is really, I love this slide because it's very simplistic, but it says so much. What you're going for retention of employees is the pink. It's the purpose. It's the emotional connection. If you can tie someone emotionally to your organization, you're going to keep them, right? The bottom level, the lower tier is, yes, it's your contractual obligation. Sarah's working for me. I need to pay her a paycheck and I'm going to give her benefits. She's going to get health, maybe dental, maybe life, you know, and those are the contractual obligations we have as employers, right? Pay people a salary that's fair, competitive, and then the benefits. As you move up the ladder, at the very point, the very top is full employee engagement, right? That's where we're trying to go. The middle tier is what differentiates you from your competition. It's what opportunity do I have to move up or have a lateral move in the organization, maybe take on some different responsibilities. I don't want to be a supervisor or leader. I don't need the headaches, right? You got people in your organization who don't want to be leaders or managers, but they might want more responsibility, or they could mentor or do more. It's also their well-being. Do I care about them as an employer? Am I engaged with what's going on with their family life, right? Do I know what's happening? Am I supportive and sympathetic when somebody calls out and says, I have an issue with my family, right? And that's not to be confused with performance management. This is not a free check to, you know, not a get out of jail free card, right? It is just a matter of balancing that well-being experience with accountability. And we're going to talk about how to do that too. But what we're going for here is the peak. How do we tie them emotionally to the organization so that we have a very unique work environment that attracts the best candidates and retains them? Total rewards is part of that, right? So when I say total rewards, what am I talking about? There are 5 components of total rewards. Compensation is one of them. Their well-being is the second part. Do I feel valued here, right? Do they care about me as a person? Benefits is the third. What am I getting for benefits? What does that look like? Do I have any unique benefits coming into the mix? We're going to talk a little bit about that. My personal professional development. Are they helping me grow as an employee? Am I getting any training? Am I getting any cross training? Am I getting opportunities to learn new things that will help me be a more effective employee? And recognition. Recognition is a big one. And it's the one that employers focus on the least. And this is not an everybody gets a trophy when they perform their job. This is not that. We're not talking about that. We are talking about models where maybe employees can recognize each other. It doesn't have to be just top-down recognition from management, but it's celebrating the wins individually and as teams. So those 5 components are part of a total rewards model. Building those 5 components up gets you to that peak, that emotional connection. That's how this is all tying together. Very simplistically, this is how you keep them or lose them, right? These are the things that matter to employees, whether they stay or whether they go. These are the deciding factors for employees. Let's look at why people leave on this list. Toxic work cultures. Is there backstabbing? Is there, a perpetual offender who is bullying people, who is just kind of treating people lousy, who's always allowed to get away with it, never held accountable for that? I think if I could see you all right now and I asked you to raise your hands and we were all on screen, better yet, if we were all in the same room, I'd say everybody can think about a time where they worked somewhere where there was a toxic employee that never got in trouble, right? We never discipline them. Why? Maybe they were friends with somebody. Maybe they were related to the owner, right? I had that in my past life. Or maybe they are really good at their job, so nobody wants to touch them. They won't blow them out because they're really, really good. That is a number one driver for people to leave your organization. People feel disrespected by their manager or supervisor. Unethical behavior, right? If they see things go down that are kind of shady and they're wondering if is that legit? What's happening here? There's a lot of blame games, right? There's a lot of this. When something goes wrong, hey, this came off the line the wrong way if you're in manufacturing, or we lost a client. Well, that was their fault, right? There's a lot of finger pointing. These are the things that drive people out of an organization when it's not managed well. By the way, this happens more in small businesses because there's no hiding, right? If you work for, I'll use an example of big businesses here, Western Mass Mutual. Huge organization, Bay State Health Systems, huge. These types of things happen in departments there for sure. With all the red tape and the scope of things happening, these things can simmer quietly in those larger organizations longer than they can in your organization as a small business, because everybody knows what's going on because your employees are all talking, right? There's really nowhere to hide in a small company. What makes people stay? Do they have relationships at work? They got friends, right? Do they know people? Do they enjoy coming in? And I come in and I say, hey, Tom, what's going on? How's your family? What'd you do? Oh yeah, you went on vacation. How was that? That camaraderie keeps people. If they're recognized, if they go above and beyond what they need to do, what they should do, that's something that you can recognize, and people appreciate that. It makes them feel good. If you're challenging them, if I say, hey, Sherry Ann, you've done an amazing job doing XYZ. We've got this problem or this opportunity over here. We want to bring you in. Do you have the time? Can we get your feedback? Can we get your input? Right? People appreciate that. They're engaged. You're asking about their expertise. Transparent communication, huge, huge, huge. You've got to be telling the truth. You don't have to be showing them the books, but you do have to be talking with them about their specific impact on the big picture and where it's going. If we're struggling as an organization, we're struggling together. It's okay to say that, but we have a plan. Like, here's what's happening, everybody. Here's what we're doing. We need you to do X, Y, Z. That transparent communication is huge, and that builds retention. Even if it's not all great news, we don't feed them only the great news and hold back, the stuff that's not so great. We're transparent on everything. So there's trust, right? We're building that foundation of trust. Leadership can come in many forms in small organizations. It comes in the form of you. If you're a manager, owner, you're the president, the C-suite, right? And it comes in the form of people you hire to help run your organization. So regardless if the buck stops with you, you're the top of the food chain, or you've got people supporting you that are helping you steer the ship. This is a major driver of workplace respect. And if we don't have approachable leaders that have great moral compass, transparent leadership, that are listening to employees and treating them with respect, that does not mean agreeing all the time with everything. That's not how this works. right? But you have to be able to have those conversations, and you have to be able to gain the trust of people. This is huge. And especially, again, it has such an impact on small organizations. Trust in leadership is a huge differentiator. And you can see the facts related to employee satisfaction. Employees will go above and beyond more frequently for a manager, supervisor, leader that they trust and they believe in. They don't have to like all your decisions, but they have to believe you're doing the right thing for the organization. So why is this so important? You know, feedback is, everybody wants feedback, right? I want feedback from my boss, who's the president of EANE. Sarah, you want feedback, right? From your boss. We need to know how we're doing, and we need to know if we should stay on the path that we're on, or if we need to make some corrections, right? And if you're doing that feedback once or twice a year as part of an annual performance review process, then you're going to have some problems with retention and engagement, because people need more frequent feedback. And it takes more work, but here's the good news. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. I'm not suggesting that once a month you have to do a full review, a performance review of all your employees. Not the case. What we like to recommend are check-ins on a monthly basis. If you can't swing monthly, do it quarterly for sure. And have it be a definite, you know, last month of every quarter, my managers are doing a check-in with everybody. And it's 15, 20 minutes, and it's you stop, start, continue. This is what I need you to stop doing. This is what I need you to start doing. This is what I need you to continue doing. And then I do this with my team. I say, tell me what I need to start, stop, continue doing. It's full 360. It's feedback, every direction, right? It can be quick, but it's very effective. And if you haven't done this kind of feedback before, it takes a minute. Don't do it once and give up, because everybody looks at you like, what? Like, why? What's going on? Why are we doing this? Right? It can create some, like, you know, some anxiety with people, because they're like, wait a minute, you've never asked me like this, or we don't talk like this. Like, I tell you when there's a problem. Keep going with it. Don't give up after, like, you know, after one quarter or 1 month, because they will get engaged. And this is what happens. You know, more than half the people that get an annual performance review say it doesn't actually improve their performance. And PS, we hate doing it anyway, right? Like, when I have to sit down and do it on an annual basis, I'm always like, oh God. But you know what? I've had my check-ins, so I've got my notes and I'm incorporating that. It actually helps. Here's the best news of what it does. 85% of workers who have regular check-ins, now this says weekly. Again, I'm not trying to torture you guys. It can be monthly, it can be quarterly. Regular check-ins, they have that 85% level of engagement. They're more engaged. Why? Right? Because it promotes the opportunity to listen to our employees. Give them the opportunity to say, well, I'm having trouble doing this because this machine never works, or this person's never there when I call them, or this department always kicks work back to us, right? You can smooth out the wrinkles, right? These are the wrinkles that add up and that get people disgruntled, that don't give you full performance, right? As small businesses, we need everyone to function at 150% of their capacity all the time. It is very demanding working for a small business, because we're watching our budgets tightly. We can't hire extra staff to do everything. So we need 150% from everybody. How are you going to get it? You're going to talk to them more often. You're going to coach them more often. Doing this removes recency bias. That's a really important term to know when you're evaluating employees and doing that official performance review where they get a raise, they don't get a raise, they get put on a PIP, right? Performance improvement plan. Recency bias is when you only do something once a year. So the only thing you're grading them on is the stuff you can remember, which probably happened in the last month. So if I'm doing an annual performance review in December with Sarah, and she did this amazing project for us in February and March that blew it out of the water, it was amazing, but she messed up a project in November, what am I going to focus on? Right? It's human nature to focus on what happened most recently. If you do these check-ins and you make some notes, you've got things to go back to, and it's more engaging. The reverse can happen. You can have a performer that has been doing great, but is now having an issue, and you don't want to rock the boat. So we may not be willing to address things where maybe we can jump in and help. And
Allison, you got a quick question here. So
yeah,
Glenn's
please.
asking, did you say frequency bias?
Recency bias, recency with an R. So the things that have happened most recently are the things that their employees are judged on, instead of taking a holistic view of what they've done. Yeah.
Thank you.
You got it. Any other questions? Anybody want me to stop? Talk about anything before we go on?
Oh, good pace. Thank you.
All right. So here's Gallup's big, they actually have a big 12 list of employee engagement, but a couple of them are pretty similar. So I've whittled it down to the top 10 things that you want your employees to be able to answer yes to. And these aren't random things. Gallup is a global organization that measures employee engagement. So they know their stuff, and they survey and they interview hundreds of thousands of employees and employers every year. And then they construct their own courses and their own resources for employers, again, at a big level. But we take some of the work that they do at a high level with organizations that have hundreds of thousands of employees, and we bring it to the level that we can manage it in our small businesses. And these 10 things are some of the things that are really important to workers, to people, right? Our workers are people, they're humans, right? So these kinds of things are important to humans, and you want them to be able to answer yes. So you want them to say yes if we say, do I know what's expected of me at work, right? And that's beyond, hey, Sarah, come in, get on your computer, you have your job description, go. Thank you. And I'll review you in December, right? It's continuous coaching. Like, I understand what's expected of me today. And if I'm on a new project, I'm going to get clear direction, and I have the equipment and the tools to do my job. Am I set up to have the opportunity to do my best every day? Right? So if somebody is constantly coming in and they're supposed to have data to do their job, or they're supposed to have a tool to use their job, to do their job, and they never have it, if they're supposed to, their computer's not working or slow, or they don't have the resources to do their job at that 150% that we need them to operate at, then we've got to do something about that. Do I get feedback regularly? We have to start desensitizing people when we give them feedback that's negative feedback. And we're going to talk about how to present that in a second, but it's coaching feedback. They're not doing something correct, or you want them to do something different. When we are influencing a behavior, we have to get people sensitized to get that feedback and not feel bad, right? So there are cases where we need them to feel bad because we need to impact their performance up, or they're going to have to leave the organization. That's different. What I'm talking about is you want someone to do something differently. Maybe you've got a receptionist and she's not always pleasant on the phone, or he's not always great greeting people as they're coming into your office, and you want them to change behavior. We've got to have those coaching conversations and desensitize folks to getting critiqued that it's okay, because we're giving them the why. I need you to try to do this differently, and here's why. Here's how it impacts the business. Thank you. And then we're watching to see if the behavior changes. Does my supervisor care about me as a person? Or am I always just, Tom, you screwed this project up again. And Tom's like, well, I'm sorry, I've got this thing going on at home. I don't, leave your personal life at the door. Oh, no, we can't say that. We're not going back to Mad Men. Great show. We can't go back there. The workforce has changed. The world has changed. As employers, we need to adapt. We know all about our employees now after COVID. We know how they feel. We know what their ailments are. We know about their kids being homeschooled. We've met all their pets on Zoom, right? This is a good thing. Continue that. Embrace that. They're people, right? So we want them to feel encouraged about their development at work. We have to care about them. We have to ask their opinion. So these are the kinds of things that your employees are looking for from you, and they should be able to answer yes to these. And if they can't, then let's work on that, right? Let's take a few of these and work on it. So I gave
Let
a
me ask you a
presentation.
question on that,
Yeah.
Allison, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So it's just suffice it to say that some employees have more drama than others, and you say no longer do we let them leave their personal life at home. So
Yeah.
can you elaborate on your thoughts on that a little bit more?
That's a great question at this slide, right? So Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Empathy and accountability are not competing entities in your organization. We can have empathy for people's struggles and hold them accountable at the same time, right? So if we have somebody who is, I'll just give you some examples of things that I've talked to members, and this is probably one of the biggest calls we get on our employer hotline, is how to balance performance management and accountability with the appropriate amount of empathy for people today. And I think part of that is creating a transparent environment where somebody understands when they are not meeting performance standards, or they're late all the time. Maybe they'll show up late to work all the time, or they have to take constant time off because something's going on at home and it's impacting the rest of the organization or their department. We have to talk in that conversation with them about how that impacts the whole team and the whole organization, and find out, is there anything we can do? I talked to a member last week and she said, I've got this person. She's an amazing worker, but our workday on the shift, it was manufacturing, starts at 7:30. She can't get here. She's having trouble. Her daycare is changing hours. I was like, well, can you make an accommodation for her to work 8 to 3:30 instead of 7:30 to 3? Or like, is there anything you can do that won't upset the apple cart, right? Because we don't want to be making accommodations all over the place for people, because then other people want the same accommodations. So look at every individual case differently and talk to people, but we have to explain to them that we understand and we're supportive of their situation, but yet the business has to run, or we can't give that person a job. So we have to have those transparent conversations about how their behavior is impacting the organization and how we just can't sustain it. So we're here to offer some support. Here are some resources that might be helpful for you. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if we can't make it work, this may not be the right place for you, right? So we exit people. We might transition some people out if it's a continual problem. I hope that was kind of an answer, Tom, to that question.
It is a very good answer. And I think a summary of that is basically don't ignore the drama when it's there.
Yes, don't ignore the drama, because everybody else is watching the drama and wondering why you are ignoring it. Right?
Thank
So, and then they're taking stock of, should I be a quiet quitter? And that's a little tease for what's coming in a couple slides. That's the new phrase and the new thing happening. So let's talk about quiet quitting. Here we go. Here's the segue. How do you weather that storm, right, of retention and avoiding the constant turnover of people leaving by their own choice? We won't talk about quitting or performance management terminations. We won't factor that in here. How do we retain those folks that we actually want to keep working with us? And as we talk about this, there's sort of like a 10-80-10 rule in business, where 10% of our employees are super performers. You love them. If you could build a cloning machine, you're sticking them in it, you're pressing all the buttons, and you're spitting them out, because everybody, you want to be this person, right? Top 10%, bottom 10%. you don't want to clone these people. They're probably the people that you should exit out because they have constant performance issues, major drama all the time. They don't meet performance standards. Why are they still here? These are the people that you question in your mind. Why are they still here? The middle is the 80%, right? That some are leaning up, some are leaning down. So really the method is to focus on, how do I get my peak performers certainly to stay, and those folks in that 80% to move up to becoming closer to that 10%. And then also how I get my lower tier up the ladder, right? To be better performers. So stay interviews is a very effective tactic for small businesses. Much harder to do in a big company, really great tactic. And you can use these quarterly meetings as stay interviews. We're not going to call them a stay interview. HR has to label everything with an acronym or something like that. So they've labeled it a stay interview instead of an exit interview, right? Kind of late when Sarah gives me her notice because she's found another job because she's tired of working with Tom because he doesn't do his job, right? So I'm going to do an exit interview with Sarah, and completely fictional, by the way. They're the ones I can see on the screen. That's why I'm picking on them. So when I do an exit interview with Sarah, it's too late. She's leaving. She's taking her talents elsewhere, right? The goal would be for me as the manager of Sarah to sit down with her and say, what do we need? How's it going? How are you personally? How's your family? How's that situation you had going on with your mom or your dad or your kids, right? Here's a few company updates, and how are things going in your department? Anything that you need? Should we be doing things differently? I was thinking we could do this. This is a stay interview. This is giving Sarah the opportunity to tell me what's going on before she leaves. Great thing to be able to do, especially in small organizations. As we, are moving through the onboarding process with new people, we want to make sure the job description that we give them is realistic. This is kind of a tactical transactional thing, but a lot of job descriptions, I'll get members that will call me and say, will you take a look at this? And it's 6 pages. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You should have a job description. So not having one isn't great, but having one that's 6 pages is also not great. It should be realistic. Your job description is not your job ad. It's not what you put out on Indeed. What you put out on Indeed is why should someone work for you? It's the WIFM. What's in it for me? Your job description is kind of the expectations. And if you have core values or like a mission statement, you can put that on there. A little blurb about the company, right? Put that on your job description, but make sure it kind of matches what they're doing when they come in the door. Because the last thing you want to do is have a new person on board in, and then all of their duties that they're doing are totally different than what's on the job description. They're going to feel like they got bait and switch, and that's not a good feeling. Coaching is the methodology of leadership today. We're coaching people up, or we're coaching people out, right? So Thor and the hammer has to go. So if you've got managers and supervisors that are just beating people into submission and they can't have a conversation with someone, you've really got to offer them the opportunity to step up and change their mindset. It is the #1 killer of culture, is that supervisor mentality, where they just aren't able to effectively coach their team. And this has changed. I'm not letting people off the hook. There are some people that have been getting away with this for a long time. But I will tell you that it's a killer for your culture. And we've got to get our supervisors and managers into the coaching mentality. We talked a little bit about onboarding. If you want to retain your new hires, you're really excited. You brought a new person on the team. Maybe you're, a small architectural firm, or you're a small professional services firm, and you've got a new person coming in. You know, you need to have a strong onboarding process where they are, you know, have it organized. What are they doing their first 2 weeks? Make sure everything's ready for them. You know, make sure they understand what to do. Check in with them, right? That's an everyday check-in in a small company. How's it going? How you doing, Sherry Ann? You know, how was day 2, right? Like, what was the best thing that happened today? Easy questions. You know, what was the worst thing that happened today? And if you really want to blow somebody's mind that just started to work for your company, grab them after their first week and say, how are we doing as an organization? Right? How are we doing? How's your experience been? Right? You're going to blow their mind. They're going to love it. And that's kind of what we should be doing, right? Because you don't want them. You do not want to spend 2-3 weeks. You've just brought them on. You've incurred the cost of onboarding. You've sucked time away from your current staff training them. And then week 4, they're gone. They ghost you. Maybe not even week 4. I know if I could see your hands raised, you've had people ghost you after day 1. Maybe at lunch. I got that one too recently. New hire started, went to lunch, never came back. It's happening. So do your best to create an effective onboarding process. You know, being flexible and communicating frequently is part of that accountability with empathy. We can only do so much. We are running a business, and you have a lot of stress running a business. I know that. And it's not all fluffy kitty, what we're trying to do here. You've got a business to run. These tips are designed to make it more effective for you to attract and retain candidates who will stay with you. But we have to convey that we are running a business. Customer satisfaction is important. That's a deal breaker, right? Somebody treats a customer poorly, deal breaker. Somebody treats a coworker poorly, deal breaker. You've got 2 people that are arguing and can't get along, throw them in a room with you and they talk it out and they agree to terms, right? Not everybody has to love each other. This is not Woodstock in the 60s, right? But we have got to get back to civility in the workplace. We have lost that. We have lost that thanks to our politicians who all behave badly. So we're looking at that on a national scale, right? And lots of national people are behaving badly, right? So it trickles down into the workplace. We can't have that. You don't have to agree with everybody. You don't have to love everybody, but you bet you got to respect everybody. So quiet quitting. This is not new. And HR people are really frustrated that this is making national news. This trend that they put a label on now called quiet quitting. They are the people in your organization who are disgruntled for some reason or another. It might be because, you know, they see somebody getting promoted ahead of them, or they didn't get the raise they wanted, or they feel like they're overburdened or overtaxed, right? Stressed out right now, too much on their plates. So they have decided that they are going to pull back and do the very bare minimum to get by, to slide under the radar. It's way easier. I wonder what happened to my grammar there. It's way easier to slide under the radar at a larger organization if you're kind of taking the quiet quit. This trend started on TikTok, by the way. We can thank TikTok for that. Some guy posted a 30-second video about how he's burnt out and he's prioritizing, you know, life over work balance. And he's started the quiet quit trend. So it just kind of rolled from there. And, you know, we have to recognize the signs of somebody who is disgruntled and is pulling back from us. And I'll give you an example. You know, somebody who maybe, a lot of us are doing hybrid work from home, come in a couple days a week. If you've got somebody who is working 3 days a week, 4 days a week in the office, maybe 1 day a week from home, and they flip-flop that, why? You know, why are they doing that? We have to performance manage based on outcomes now, right? So we're looking at the work being produced. Somebody's work production goes down for some reason. How about they don't say a word in a meeting? They're quiet, where they're usually fairly vocal. You look for volunteers to participate in programs. they don't volunteer. They don't step up, right? You know your people. If something is off, you've got to look at it. And, there's crazy statistics now about how many people are actually engaged in your organization. And it can be as low as 25% are actively engaged. And that means giving you that 150% that we're looking for as small businesses. So we have to make sure we're watching for the quiet quits, because they're working on their exit plan out the door, or they're upset about something. So keep your eye out for that. One thing that I always encourage people to do when we look at retention and candidate attraction, which we're going to spin and focus on next, is how to find those new faces that we need in our organization. Take a look at your benefits. The world of benefits brokerage has completely changed. I don't know if we have any benefit brokers on the call today, but large organizations are gobbling up kind of our independent brokers, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? So these large organizations have a lot of information, data, analytics capabilities, which can be helpful in navigating on the healthcare side of things, on the P&C side of things, purchasing power, that kind of thing. But it's also taken away some of those relationships that we've had with our benefits brokers for years and years, right? We need to make sure as organizations we are partnering with someone that we trust in the benefit space, that knows our business, that is not just coming around once a year for renewal, that they're offering things in between to help us with our employee engagement. So conversations around wellness benefits, right? So the number one concern for our employees today is around their mental health and their well-being, and their financial well-being is secondary. So that well-being circle, where it's mental health, stress, work capacity, life work balance, whether we're dealing with younger kids, older parents, and then that financial piece of that bottom of that circle, that's really concerning for people. So we want to be talking to our benefits brokers about what they offer in terms of those benefits for us. There's free stuff. As small businesses, EA&E is a small business. I would love to get one of these crazy, bougie, big wellness plans for our employees. We can't afford that, right? We can't afford, $100 a month per employee. We can't take that on. If you're a company that can do that, awesome. I love it. But if you're a small business, oftentimes, you're putting together things that are fairly low cost, like an EAP, like an employee assistance plan or program, because they offer a lot of things under one umbrella. They'll do seminars, webinars. Your employees can get to mental health counseling and, and coaching and meet with clinicians oftentimes in those cases. We work with Cambridge Credit Counseling here, which is a financial wellness consulting group, debt counseling, all of that. Their resources don't cost the employer anything. There is a small charge to employees as they go through their plan of helping you shore up your credit. So there's free resources out there that can help support you. You can look at pet insurance, student loan reimbursement. Don't do anything yet. Big announcement coming federally, I guess, on student loan forgiveness this week. Wellness perks. Hey, we can bring in, a local community center often does health and wellness programs. Sometimes your benefits broker has a tie-in to registered dietitians. You can look at companies like the Charge Group that has registered dietitians, that there's a component in your healthcare that will pay for that. So it's no cost to you, no cost to your employees. There are free resources for you, but take a look at those benefits and those punishing increases. I know ours was 13% again this year as a small business, and there's not much we can do about it as small businesses. Those increases are punishing. So we're looking for low cost or no cost ways for benefit reevaluation, but you need a partner who will talk to you about the options out there. So I think getting creative and thinking outside the box in terms of balance and offering some things, other things, people are bringing their pets to work. We've got a member that they're a marketing company and they've got about 30 employees. I got to tell you, I talk about them all the time. So Sarah and Tom, you may have heard this already, but they do bring your pet to work days for their employees. Every single national food holiday, they celebrate it. Hot dog day, tater tot day, National Pizza Day. And the staff brings in the food, right? So they do Cinco de Mayo, they do, everything, right? So, and they post it all on social media. Guess what? They look like the best place to work, because on National Tater Tot Day, they got in their conference room 20 different bowls of tater tots with everything you could imagine, right? So everybody gets creative, it's fun, it's team building, it's engaging. That also helps you attract people, right? Because candidates are going to your LinkedIn page, they're going to your Facebook page, and they don't want to only see like XYZ companies doing this, blah, blah, blah is doing this, right? Show them the fun, have some fun, right, in your organization. So if you can provide like some of these things where folks can take a half day and volunteer at their favorite community center or charity, bring in health and wellness educators. We have a member in Connecticut, the Jewish Community Center in West Hartford. They do all kinds of nutrition counseling. Your local JCC has a registered dietitian on their team. They would love to come in and talk to your group about recipes, wellness, things like that. There's a lot of resources you can look at that won't cost you a lot of money, that can bring information and fun things to the organization. So this is a slide that's kind of cool because it talks about the fact that different, generations typically are looking for different things. So know your audience, right? If you're made up of mostly baby boomers in your company, you need to know, you need to be doing some succession planning, right? Where are you going to replace that knowledge transfer when they exit your organization? Know who's coming up for retirement, but look at who do I have that's Gen X, who's coming up, are going to be, my next managers, or beyond that, right? My Gen Zs who are next in line, my millennials are coming, right? Coming up the pike. So kind of know what rewards typical, and we don't want to put anybody in a certain box or label and say this is true of every baby boomer, that they volunteer, that they money is what matters to them the most, and their expertise needs to be rewarded. That is a pretty traditional fact about baby boomers, but this is a guidepost just to know that there are differences in the generations, and we need to know about those when we're talking to people. Low cost strategies, again, for retaining talent, saying thank you, saying thanks, right? Sending an email out to everybody on the team. Did you guys see what Tom did? He did amazing things for this client today. Great job. Awesome job, right? Maybe have a family picnic. Can we bring in a grill, hot dogs, hamburgers? Bring your family, bring the kids, get everybody socializing together. Ask for regular feedback, provide ongoing learning opportunities. We've talked about some of these things. This kind of just puts it into perspective. So now let's talk for just a couple of minutes here, external talent. How do we bring them in to the organization? We talked about where we're at currently with the labor market, the importance of that employee value proposition, building our infrastructure and getting our total rewards together, how we retain the staff we have. And now we're going to look outside, how we're going to bring new ones in. So there really are, kind of, we call them the great 8 around here, strategies for attracting new talent to your team. And, we talked a little bit about job descriptions. Don't put your job description in your ad, right? I know it takes time to create a job ad but you're selling the sizzle in your job ad. You're telling them what's in it for them to work for you, not what they're going to have to do when they come to you. That should be the small part of it. Give them a taste and a flavor of the job, but give them more about the why they should want to work for you. Get rid of any friction in your application process, right? So if you apply for your own job online, have somebody do it, friend, family member, relative, have them apply for your job, whether it's off your website, on Indeed, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, have somebody else go through it and tell you, well, I had to enter this stuff in 3 times, right? I had to put my information in, my name, where I worked, like all of that. Remove that friction, make it easy to apply. Make sure that process is condensed from the minute you get their application and resume to the time you're reaching out, to the time you're interviewing, to the time you rule them in and out, compressed. The longer you wait, the faster somebody's going to pick them up, especially if they're great, right? Make sure that you are, roll out those internal referral programs. Anybody doing that? Referral bonuses? That was a game changer for one of our members, for sure. Offering a staggered referral bonus, right? So if you refer someone and they start and they come on board after a couple weeks, the total referral bonus might be $500, but you get 200 up front. You get another 100 at 6 months, and you get 200 if they stay for a year, right? So guess what that does? If I refer Sarah to come to work, that's engaging me to help in her retention. That's incenting me to make sure she stays. Because if she stays, I get the rest of my bonus, right? So that's involving me in the retention. We've got members doing full team retention, right? So if I'm a 6-person team and we bring in Tom as our 7th person, the team, if Tom's on board for 6 months, everybody gets a bonus. That incents everybody to make sure Tom is getting what he needs to be successful there, right? They're invested, bring them into the process. It has to work for you. Some of these things may work for you, some of them won't. So I'm hoping you can grab the ideas that will work for you and maybe give you some tips to think outside the box. Get social and creative. That's so important today. Candidates are checking you out before they send their resume or they fill out that application. You've all got those folks in your company who come in every day with a smile on their face. They love doing what they do. They're your brand ambassadors. They are especially important in small business. Get them on video. Why? Sarah, tell me, we got, we're at our 100-year anniversary today. You've been working here for 13 years. Awesome. Awesome. What do you like about working here? Get her on cell phone video, put that out there. Doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to pay for marketing. If you can work with a marketing company and do a few videos, great. If you can't, just get cell phone video. Them selling you is better than you trying to sell you, right? Get them your brand ambassadors going for you. We talked about the interview process and just work on some of these tweaks you can make that work for your organization. You really do have to think like a marketer though. You have to market to candidates the way you try to market to your customers, right? Same amount of effort, same amount of attention needs to go there now. Because again, there are 2 jobs for every 1 available candidate. You got to fight that and win that battle with your competition out there. So this is just kind of more info about using video. People engage. It's a crazy statistic. If you engage with video, either in your ads, on your website, drive people back to your website, have a few brand ambassador links there on your website, why someone should come work for you, why they love working for you. The video engagement versus the static print engagement numbers are crazy. People don't want to read anymore. Keep it short and simple and use video. And again, cell phone video works because our cell phones are amazing, right? Takes great video, great pictures. Go outside and look for those potential boomerang boomers, right? Who may be coming back into the workforce. Have you looked at candidates? I call them candidates with abilities, right? Not necessarily with disabilities, but what are their abilities? There's organizations out there that are looking to place their folks. And many of them don't have any discernible disabilities that you would even know about, right? But they could potentially do your jobs. The veterans groups, they're always looking to partner with employers. Some of you may be able to work with your local sheriff's department to get some of the folks that are incarcerated into your workforces. They're looking for that. We're really in trouble in this country if we can't get the recidivism rate down and get some of our folks that are incarcerated into jobs and into the workforce pipeline. And I know some of you can't do that, but if you can, the sheriff's departments in your area are great resources to explore if you can do that. So the wrap up here. Clean up the house in terms of building your infrastructure, right? Look at your employee value proposition, that 5-point total rewards. What are we doing? Comp, benefits, recognition, development. Make sure with comp, you're benchmarking what you're paying. You can go to onetonline.com. You can get some industry specific salary surveys. ONET is a national database. You can look at, rates in Massachusetts, pay rates in Massachusetts. I've got access to salary surveys here at EANE. If you would like that, I'm happy to send that to Sarah and Tom, and you can use that. Make sure you're competitive. Figure out where you are. You don't have to be the highest payer. If you're the lowest payer, you're going to have to be ready to counter that with your benefits or with your work culture, right? Know where you are and own your space right there. Get social and creative. Try to be as flexible as you can with candidates and make sure that robust benefits plan is working for you. So this is the end game, right? These are the 6 things that all work together to create that employee experience that we want. Giving people a sense of meaningful work with hands-on management that care about them in a productive work environment that's inclusive, that offers growth opportunities, where I'm getting transparent information from my leaders and I've got trust, and that there's health and well-being incentives for me too. This is sort of the ideal, they call it the irresistible organization. So this is where we really all want to go, right? And it is a mindset shift. It is treating our employees in the same mindset that we treat our customers, but this is where we're at. And if we don't do it as employers, we cannot like it. I talked to a CEO group a few months ago, and, they're comprised of a lot of traditionalists and baby boomers, right? And I talked about this stuff, and they really hate the fluffy kitty kind of conversation, but I'll say to you what I said to them. We adapt or not. And the not part is not going to be fun. So this is the new world. We adapt to it and we do the things we can do, and we strive towards being this full, complete organization, or we suffer the consequences, which could be a number of things, right? We're not going to be a leader in getting into that untapped talent pool. And really, if we build these sustainable organizations that focuses on these 6 things, no matter what happens in the economy, things that are out of our control, we are going to have this built on the other side of it. And it's a sustainable structure. So some things for you to think about, I hope today. And I hope that was helpful and informational. And I really do believe our employees are our most important asset. We can't do it alone. We can't do it on the backs of just us as owners, managers, supervisors. We need the people part. So there's a lot we can do. So I am happy to stop screen sharing and entertain any questions or thoughts or comments. And you can throw tomatoes at me at the screen if you like. But I hope it was helpful for everybody.
Allison, as always, you do a great job presenting a really hot topic today, and I can't, overstate how important this topic is right now for anybody that's in a management role or especially an entrepreneurial role. If you need people on your team, you have to be competitive, and I think the way you presented it was really covering some eye-opening topics today. Thank you very much for your time. But please, if you have questions, like I said, feel free to ask them. This is the time to do it. If you want to, we can ask for you in the chat or just wave and we'll catch our attention.
And I'm looking at some of the chat comments. Thanks for sharing, everybody. Great stuff.
I think Mark's got a
Marcia,
question.
did you want to say something?
Hi, I just want to say thank you.
Hello.
This was
Hello,
really
Allison.
informative.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we are having a hiring debacle at my company. We're just having really a trouble finding employees. I don't think anyone is coming to our website to look for jobs. So we're posting on Indeed and ZipRecruiter and just having real trouble having anyone even apply for the positions. And sometimes the candidates that apply are not at all qualified for the position. So I'm wondering if you have any ideas of where else to look or any advice in that.
Yeah, what kind of roles are they, Marcia? What kind of roles are you trying to fill?
We're a dental office, so it's very specific. You have to be qualified.
Yeah, there's no on-the-job training for that, right? Nobody wants
I mean,
that.
we're not looking for a dentist, but you have to be registered. You have to have gone through training.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So those are really a very specific skill set, right? So
yes.
what are the things that you think makes your dental practice unique from another dental practice?
I think we're a longstanding small business, local in a community that we participate and live in and support. We're very flexible with hours, family life, time off, things like that.
Is all that in your ad that you have out on Indeed? Is that the start of your ad at the top?
It is not. It is not.
I would try that. I would,
Okay.
right? That's your unique value proposition, right? You're saying, come join a small established dental office that, engages in our community and welcomes new patients. I would put that at the top. These are the great things about working here. They know that, we can't stop somebody who's been working at the DPW from applying to be, a dental assistant. You're not going to stop that.
Yeah.
People are seeing jobs and we're always going to get some unqualified people. But I would, again, start with your unique value proposition. That was great what you just articulated. Hey, we participate in our community. We're small and local. We're here for the folks here in this area. And we offer flexible schedules. Come chat with us or give us a call about what it's like to come work for us. Like, make it you're homey, you're friendly. You're not it's okay to have a dental practice that's larger and hustle bustle, but your focus is uniquely on your individual patients, right? We're small, we take our time with our patients. I would sell that because then you're going to get somebody who appreciates that and doesn't want that big dental office chaos where there might be a lot of drama with a lot of personalities. You've got a small team. Maybe try that angle.
Okay. Any other sites that you think we should be advertising on?
Are you on LinkedIn?
No, we're not on LinkedIn.
No. So does your practice have a Facebook page?
Yes, that's we've just recently recently within the last couple of months we're trying to do like weekly posts on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
Kind of some funny things like dental jokes and some more informative things.
Yeah. Are you sharing your ad up there too, or posting that you're looking?
I did at the beginning, but I haven't in maybe in a month or so, 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe try that. Maybe try,
Okay.
Keep that kind of fresh and up to date and say, hey, we're joining our staff, our team's growing. We're adding to our team, and try it on Facebook again. Cause I think that personal connection is good. In terms of, other sites to advertise, there's really, most people are focusing on that, on the LinkedIn and on the Indeed, particularly for you. Are there dental schools like in the area that you have a relationship with?
There are, and we've tried that route a number of times and it just hasn't really been fruitful.
Okay. Have you tried sign-on bonuses?
We did, and I actually think the government is still offering the sign-on bonus for small businesses. So we have tried that. And the other thing, I really loved your internal referral program, because I think it's a small
Yeah.
world of dentistry, and so people know people. So
Yep.
I think that was a really great idea that I will definitely take away.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
think if you can talk to your employees, make sure you've got a small team, make sure your employees are following your Facebook page and sharing your posts, right? That
Okay.
helps, because they're, again, your dental assistants or folks that are already working for you, if they can follow you on Facebook and share the posts, their little network is
Mhm.
powerful to get that out there. Yeah.
True.
And also maybe your existing clientele, or if you have any
Yeah.
new customers, like where did they come from? Like, did they have it? Because the people that are your current clients know you guys well. So
Yeah. So I
maybe-
actually just made new appointment cards, and on the back of them I put follow us on Instagram and scan this code, and
perfect.
like to make it very easy for them to become followers of
Yep.
Instagram and
Great.
Facebook and stuff.
Marcia, that's something that we see here. I see with clients every week, and it's there to be able to recruit people. And I will tell you that I've learned actually when I first heard Allison's presentation, we adapted some of our training and counseling here at the center, and focused on the message more so than the media. And on that message, applying an age-old, it's called the AIDA model for advertising, AIDA, it's an acronym: attention, interest, desire, and a call to action. But having something in an ad, when you write an ad that really captures someone's attention and that target demographic, then build their interest and create desire to come work for you, then have a call to action. That's very simple.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mark, you had a question earlier.
No, I just have a comment. I just want to thank Allison for a phenomenal presentation. I think you had many great ideas, some that we already implement, but there's others that we can take advantage of. So I want to thank you personally for a great job.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
I would love to hear about Glenn's slipper day that you
Yeah,
guys.
I love that. And I love how you say they talked me into it. So
A 30-second response is basically, I forgot that Holly suggested this many moons ago, so that's on me. And because we've all been mired in COVID management and just trying to, keep our heads above water. But I've been sharing a couple of tidbits through Teams with her about this session, which has been excellent, by the way. I've taken away many things, but and she responded by saying, well, geez, I did remind you about slipper day. I think I said something about the food, the national food. Some company does national food. And I said, and we do cookouts a couple times a year. I bought a gas grill a few years ago, and we have it out there. We haven't used it much because of COVID. And she said, well, food is good, but she's been having trouble doing, getting the food, getting people interested in doing that. She said, well, I did introduce slipper day. I said, okay, fine, just do it. You've beaten me up enough. Just go ahead and do it. But my whole, there's this great argument, there's this dichotomy in my brain through this whole session about, and I sound like my father all of a sudden. I just realized that, we were raised with a certain work ethic, and I was at the last month of the baby boomer generation. And, the cupcake generation, and the reality is that my people, the closest to me here at the office, say I'm a pussycat boss and I let people get away with anything. Well, that's not really true. I've had to hire, fired, walk people out the door, blah, 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 blah. And I do address issues, but at the same time, this organization had a dictator boss, and I made a decision not to be like that and lead by example, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I like to be the team leader. I like being part of the team. I like getting down in the trenches with my people. But at the same time, I do get frustrated by, the 20-something outside my door on their cell phone all day when I'm coaching the manager to address that issue. And it's like, this is your job, not mine. I got to find money for the organization. So I am having some difficulties with the cupcakes, but honestly, mostly what people we hire are out of master's degree programs in regional planning, and they do an excellent job. We hire great people. So 99 times out of 100, we're getting very good people. I get very few cupcakes. But I do struggle with the whole, well, you got to put your arm around them and, you know, treat them like, it's like, I get that. You have to be human, but at the same day, they have to work for pay. So, which is what you said earlier, Allison, they still have to do a job. But so that was Slipper Day. Sorry, I went on too long. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
You're not alone at all, Glenn. And I think it is, you know, I was raised by, you know, by parents who instilled in me, you start in the mailroom and you work your way up, right? And it is really difficult when you hire someone and they don't have that built-in same work ethic. But I think we have to consider what the new generations have brought that is really positive. You know, a lot of baby boomers just prioritize work, and families suffered, right? So it's okay that we're going to walk this balance now, that we are going to try to let people stick to a 40-hour work week and not overwhelm them with work, and let them, you know, focus on life and focus on wellness, and go to the baseball games when their kids have baseball and soccer games and be there for that. Like my dad made nothing, right? I was a terrible, god-awful tennis player, but they stuck me out there. It was nothing to watch, but he never made any of my tennis matches because he was working, right? And that just didn't happen back then. So I think, you know, my husband coached my daughter's soccer team, so he was obviously there, but I made as many as I could because I had bosses that said, yeah, that's important for you to be there. And it is important that we are allowing people to have what's important to them while holding them accountable to do the work that needs to get done. And it is that very delicate balance. But the better of a relationship you have with these folks, the easier that balance is going to be to achieve.
One follow-up comment for you guys on that. Here at the university, at Clark University, I have to really put a testimony out there for the Gen Zers that are there. These grad students that we have that are interning with our clients, many of them are working 2 and 3 jobs while going to school full time. And I've not seen that kind of work ethic for a lot of years. So it's very refreshing for me to see. And, you know, I love seeing that, Glenn. But thanks for your point. There is a question or a comment, a question from Susan asking about recruiting commission employees, people that are on variable compensation plans.
Yeah, Susan, would you mind giving me a little more info to what kind of position that is?
Yeah, we're in a mortgage business, and this business, people are working independently and they paid by commission. So everybody's competing with that. So I can add like sign-on bonus or other benefits. I'm a little bit, you know.
Sure. So is it all, it's all commission-based, Susan?
Mostly commission based.
Mostly commission. I would imagine they're doing pretty well these days. If it's mortgage business, I mean, the real estate market's been going gangbusters. So
Yeah, it's well, it's I guess it's very challenging to recruit people with commission, because if they have enough experience, they make like 3 or 4 times people who make a regular salary.
right.
But if they don't have enough experience, you can't afford to pay them a salary. So then it's very difficult, and so it's a very complex situation, and I'm at a standstill trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so you it sounds to me like you would take both. You're recruiting both experienced candidates, and you would take somebody less experienced, but they have to understand that they're going to have to get up to speed in learning how to do this before their compensation can be at a level that they, you know, that would make it worthwhile for them, so to speak. Okay. So I think, you know, I think it's okay to say that, to put that out there, that the perks for this role is you control your destiny, right?
Yes.
Total flexibility with work hours, total flexibility in terms of earning potential. And, you know, you just have to be willing to put the time in. If you're an experienced person, you could be making up to X immediately. If you're less experienced, you're learning a new skill, and maybe somebody coming into the role has a partner at home that's got an established compensation, so they can take this leap and learn a new skill and work to create their own financial future. So you're marketing to the entrepreneur, right? You're
Yes.
seeking an entrepreneurial mindset candidate who wants
Okay.
to set their own path, create their own destiny. And if you've got experience, great, you'll hit the ground running. If you don't, take the time to get the experience, but then your financial future is totally within your control. And I think that's the mentality that you probably want to tap into and
Okay.
create your advertising around that mentality. I would try that. I'm not saying that's the magic answer, but that would be my suggestion, is to go try to tap into the independent spirit, folks, the entrepreneurial minds that want
Okay.
that kind of, yeah.
Another challenge I'm seeing is that you are recruiting against bigger companies.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
people
but
want recognition, but they also want the attention or the personalized coaching. So then, you know, if you go into a bigger company, they don't have time for you,
right.
and they don't care because you're just one of them. Like if you're just one of the 100, so they will pamper the high performers,
Yeah.
and you just have to catch up to the best.
Yeah. I love recruiting small businesses against the big businesses, right? You don't want to be a cog in the wheel. You want to be like a gem in the ring, right?
Mhm.
That's what you're going to put out there. Don't be a cog in the wheel. Come work for an organization that, you know, is focused on our team, focused on our employees, focused on the mission, and that doesn't have all the red tape and all of that. And plus you're really vulnerable in a larger organization to shareholders, to big picture things, to recession related concerns. You're vulnerable in a small company too, but generally small companies, if they're hiring because they really need the role and they've budgeted it out, right? Whereas sometimes in larger companies where we're seeing these sweeping layoffs in these big companies, you know, you could get swept up in the wind blows a certain direction and, oh, we got to blow out 3,000 people at Ford, or 5,000 recruiters at Google, or 1,500 people at Microsoft. Smaller companies
Yeah.
generally are hiring because they put it in the budget. It's a secure thing. Stuff happens that can change, but I love selling against that big company when I'm recruiting.
Oh,
know?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened to Home Depot, Loan Depot and Santander.
Yep.
You know, Santander recently and Home Depot right now. Loan Depot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So
sell against that every day of the week. Pick that
Yeah.
small entrepreneurial, yeah, don't be a cog in the wheel kind of a thing.
Also, you don't get listened. Like whatever you want certain things to happen a certain way. Nobody care what you say, because
Yep.
you know, things happen from the top down, not
Right.
from. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good luck with it. I know it's rough out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many candidates out there, but I don't get my hands.
Yeah.
It's how far reach.
I think,
Thank
Glenn,
you.
you have a question? You have raised your hand there?
Just more of an unsolicited advertisement to support the Small Business Development Center. In my volunteer world and in my personal life, I've availed myself of business development counselors through Clark University. I just want to say it's a great organization. You do very good work and they're very helpful. So to the people in the room that may need some business counseling, SBDC through Clark is really, really great. And that's all I really want to say. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank
Glenn.
you for saying that, Glenn. You know, we do these training sessions on a routine basis, and we have a really talented pool of service providers, from accountants to attorneys, employment law, so on and so forth. And what we like to do is offer services that are free of charge. But one other tidbit of information is we're getting ready to start the fall semester, and I actually teach at the university, and we have some incredibly gifted students. And these students are always looking for opportunities to engage and practice what they're learning on a real world basis. So we've got a good pool coming in the fall. And there's basically 5 degree programs that we work with from accounting analytics. That's an interesting combination, by the way. Business analytics, marketing, MBA, those types of students. But if you're interested in that, please get with us. Sarah has got the pipeline for that, and we'd be happy to use your business as an opportunity for them to learn. Allison, any kind of comments for us before we go today? And thank you again for sharing time with us.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks to Tom and Sarah for inviting me to jump in and meet all of you today. And you know, we love doing this. So if you think that we can be of a support to you, feel free to reach out. And I also would emphasize what Glenn just said. You have an amazing resource in the SBDC. So continue to use those resources. Yep. You don't have to go it alone as a small business. That's for sure.
Well, like me, I'm going to use the recording of this session with other clients and other people that are around. If you want to do the same, Sarah Doran will be your point of contact for it. We'll have it available on YouTube. And like I said, you can use it as you need. Thank you for your time, everyone. And Allison, for your presentation.
Absolutely. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.